All right, let's just get right into it. People have been asking about a Bane League Start guide. Can I play it next league? It will probably be fine. If the Crucible trees on the weapons are any good, it will probably be about the same. Or if they're very good, it will be buffed next league. With that said, there's a lot of unknowns. And without knowing how powerful those trees are, will it be good enough in the early game to supplement what has changed? And without knowing that, I can't hard recommend it as a league starter. It would be irresponsible of me to say, yeah, build should be about good enough. Go ahead, have fun, play the same build again. I have a feeling that the nerfs that they made were basically to balance the power for what we're going to get on the weapon trees in Crucible. But if we don't really unlock that power until later, it will feel weaker than it did before. And while I love this build and its archetype, damage has never been its specialty. Basically, I spent the past 2 years really trying to fine-tune this and min-max it to make it feel as good as possible. The short of it is they basically were nerfing for poison, and chaos damage over time in general took collateral damage from it. So let's show exactly what's going on right here. So this POB right here is a level 91 character that I put together this morning that is as budget as possible. It is only a couple divines invested total, 5.3 million DPS for a couple divines invested. This should feel pretty good. Herein lies the rub. I left in what we had last patch. If we comment this out, you can see 5.3 million DPS. If we comment these out, we go to 4.3 million DPS to lose about 20% of the damage on this character. For a low budget character, 4.3 million DPS is still fine. The other reason why on stream the past week or so, I've been saying, I just don't really recommend it, is there was a patch note that said that Hex Bloom has been updated to say that it no longer works with Bane. It was very vague. They answered in an FAQ question last night that the curses supported by Bane can still be supported by Hex Bloom. So Hex Bloom with Bane and the curses should still work, and we should still get really good full screen explodes. Also, I just want to start off by saying this is not a very long, in-depth guide like the Fire Trap character. Definitely check out the Fire Trap character if you want a full, beginner-friendly everything guide all in one place. But I do have many Bane videos. Many Bane videos that will encompass everything that you need to know if you really want like a beginner-friendly everything. There is a playlist here that has 17 videos in it that has a leveling walkthrough. You can watch the progression. You can see it fighting bosses. This version of the build, this league in Sanctum, was really good for Ubers, honestly. It did scale into Ubers very well. It was at about 18 million DPS at higher investment. So, and just to prove that, you can watch this video right here. Soul Rend makes Ubers easy. The big thing that I had a revelation for is we can go for +3 projectile / AoE gloves with an Essence of Delirium craft. That gives us basically like a pseudo 6 or 7 link in our gloves for both Soul Rend and Essence Drain, making them very powerful. And the comfortable damage with Soul Rend versus Blight just made it a lot easier. And we can also make this pretty darn tanky, honestly. Max spell suppression, a little bit of block. We can run Determination, Grace, whatever you want to make it really comfortable. And yeah, this is Uber Cirrus, arguably one of the most annoying, hardest fights in the game. And that's how easy it is with Bane. If there's any doubts, if you want to scale into that, it is there. But I do want to remind you of the caveat that we lost about 20% damage off the top. Now, there's a really good chance that we could get it back on the trees, right? We could look for wands that say, hey, 55% increased effective wither on the wands. That could be there, but I can't recommend that. So what happened and why have I been like kind of not recommending it too much is we previously had masteries. We had one here for 20% increased effective wither, as well as 1% chaos damage over time multiplier per 4 of your chaos res. That gave us 18% chaos dot multiplier, and with the 20% increased effective wither stacked with the old corruption, which was 35% for 55% increased effective wither, our wither used to be really strong. And we lost 35% increased effective wither. And I can show you guys real quickly, what that looks like. So by default, wither will apply 6% increased chaos damage taken. That can stack 15 times. So 15 times 6, and this is kind of like the cool thing about chaos, right? Is you get a 90% more damage multiplier in the increased damage taken there at the end. And by stacking wither stacks, it allows you to scale damage really easily early. And then previously we would have, 1.55 times 6 and then times 15. So that gets rounded down actually to 9 times 15 for 135% increased damage taken. Yeah, Path of Exile rounds down even in the middle of the equation. Pretty mean for the player there. But 135%, so that was 45% increased damage taken on that multiplier right there, and we lost that. Now, we still can do the 20%, but take a look at how the equation works. 6 times 1.2, that rounds down to 7 times 15. So we only go from 90 to 105, whereas previously we go to 135. That mastery alone is only worth 15%. Because it rounds down in the middle of the equation, it actually is like pretty brutal to the player by not hitting that next breakpoint. They took a lot of power off the passive tree there. The additional dot multiplier, as well as nerfing the spell suppression mastery. We used to have a spell suppression mastery right here that said 12% spell suppression if your boots, gloves, and helmet had evasion. And unfortunately, it got double tapped. It got moved to the evasion mastery, and now it is your boots, helmet, body armor, gloves, and helmet. Now, it did go up to 15, but if you want to use something like a Skin of the Lords or anything that is not evasion-based on your body armor, unless you can craft evasion on there, that got nerfed as well for a lot of players that were, especially witches that may struggle to get any defense. It does feel kind of icky as a witch player. Sorry, GGG, but Energy Shield just like kind of sucks. It needs something like less damage taken or something. It is not a primary defensive layer. Anyway, rant over. So basically, as we can see, this is a level 91 character. We still have, good resistances, max spell suppression, good evasion, very good life. It's still solid defensively. Offensively, we lost about 20% damage. This is the budget version. A little bit later, you do get a cluster jewel right here, but that's it. Other thing that I did is I added a sublime form reservation jewel right here so we can run Grace. I basically took the high-end version of the build and I dumbed down all of the items to make them, fairly realistic. Dot multi, cast spell skill gems wand right here. This is arguably the best item that we have. It's decent, right? Nothing crazy. You can get this on League Start with just Reforged Chaos. A little bit on the nicer side, but, nothing crazy in my opinion. Low level spell damage plus Chaos. You can hit this really easily, Reforged Chaos, or using Aberrant Jewels. As always, with everything for crafting here, Aberrant Fossils or Reforged Chaos and Harvest, all of these things should be pretty achievable, even in Soul Found very quickly. Helmet here, absolutely nothing. Raw crafted helmet. Body armor here, crafted with Essence of Loathing, little mana reservation efficiency, spell suppression and life, but nothing else, just a crafted mod on top of that. Gloves right here, I removed as many mods as I could. Essence of Delirium gloves, crafted projectile gems with a little bit of life on it. The boots, just spell suppression on the boots, like nothing, right? All right, looks like the amulet had a little bit too nice stuff on it, so let's bring it down for the budget-minded folks. Let's even lower the tier of that. Hopefully that's pretty realistic. Very low dot multi, a little bit of life, and chaos skill gems. Boom. Other thing that we do with the amulet now, and this is actually, I guess, technically better for mapping because corruption sucks now. It's like really bad. Look at that. If I take all of the nodes leading up to corruption, it's less than 10% damage, right? 9.5% damage for all of the nodes going up to corruption, like pretty bad. I'm assuming that hopefully, the weapon skill trees are good, but is what it is. So that allows us to anoint Acrimony, which is cheaper than anointing corruption. We don't need that crimson oil. And since it's not relying on our wither stacks, we actually just get the damage up front instead of ramping into that. So, that's okay. And Acrimony is the best thing that we can anoint right now. Iolite rings crafted with Essence of Envy. Nothing special on these at all. Just go for it. Just use Essence of Envy until you get some life on there. Just a regular old belt with nothing on it. And a Corrupted Blood Jewel right there. And then just a bunch of totally normal jewels right here. And then the large cluster jewel, we're using Unholy Grace, Unwaveringly Evil, and Wicked Paul. But you can go for, whatever is good enough. With a couple modifications, we're still, we're a little under 4 million DPS right now. Feels bad, right? We were over 5 million before. This is low investment, level 91. I estimate this to be in the 1 to 3 divine range, if you self-craft your items. I will present this for the low-end version of the Bane. It'll be okay, right? 4 million DPS on a few divines invested. Not too bad. It was something that I wish got a little bit more damage instead of losing a little bit of damage. But that may all be balanced by the Crucible trees. We just got to huff that copium, I guess. And then we have the high-end version right here. This used to be 18 million DPS. And with the changes, unfortunately, it drops to 14 million DPS. That is a very huge drop. Now, kind of the cool thing here is that it did encourage me and allow me to invest much more into defenses. Like I showed in the previous one, I invested more into running Grace. I wasn't running Lethe Shade before. We do become mostly ailment immune here without using a Storm Shroud, using this mastery. There is a little bit of a silver lining here. And if the Crucible skill trees are good, potentially the build is better. Assuming they do more than nothing, right? The build could be better than it was this patch. But at least for a league starter, I can't hard recommend something that has so many unknowns. You can watch these 3 videos right here, Hex Boom, Exploded Bane Guide, and then the one little showcase after this. If you want to see the power of the explosions with this build. This is confirmed from GGG to still work next patch. So that's pretty cool. That is really exciting and enticing. I do like that. Thank you for not nerfing the, the one source of joy. that we still have left over here. The build will be playable. It will be fine. There are plenty of resources on the channel here that you can go out and seek. I've really covered everything that I think I really need to cover here. If you have any more questions, please join the channel, join the Discord, ask any questions. Hopefully this is enough to give a realistic expectation of what you're going to find if you want to play this next league. But with the unknowns, I want to be really careful, make sure that you guys are taken care of. And I'm recommending things that will be very strong and effective. I want to be very careful about, I don't want to lead you guys astray and accidentally recommend something that I'm not 100% confident about. So it'll be fine. If you played it in the past, you can definitely navigate this. Anyway, thanks for watching. Especially thank you again to all of the new patrons and everything. Feels good for all of the work that goes into this being appreciated, because it is a lot of work, but it's very rewarding seeing that you guys like all this. So anyway, hopefully this sets your expectations properly. And if you have any more questions, ask on stream, and I'll see you there in a couple hours. Bye-bye.